In 1975, British teenagers consulted inexpensive mood rings to understand their emotions. Men applied aftershave potent enough to dominate any confined space. And at virtually every party across the nation, a grapefruit, wrapped in foil and bristling with cocktail sticks, served as a ubiquitous centerpiece. These were the peculiar trends of the 1970s, then considered perfectly ordinary. The cheese and pineapple hedgehog defined a generation of social gatherings. Each party featured this culinary oddity: half a grapefruit, meticulously wrapped in kitchen foil, impaled with dozens of cocktail sticks. On one end, a cube of cheese. On the other, a piece of tinned pineapple, fresh pineapple being reserved for those who had traveled abroad. For the more adventurous, a pickled onion might appear. For a touch of continental flair, a cube of processed ham. The underlying grapefruit, however, remained untouched, languishing throughout the evening, its purpose unfulfilled. Its absence from any gathering signaled a distinct lack of effort. Also in 1975, the Bay City Rollers released their rendition of Bye Bye Baby. It held the #1 spot in the UK for 6 consecutive weeks, becoming the biggest-selling single of the year. The ensuing phenomenon was unparalleled since the days of the Beatles. Teenage girls across Britain cropped their jeans to ankle length, adorned their wrists with tartan scarves, stitched tartan ribbon onto every possession, and screamed outside concert venues until they fainted. The band, originating from Edinburgh, sported half-mast trousers and platform shoes, their distinctive look often likened to having been styled in a curtain factory. Within 2 years, Scottish tartan surged from obscurity to become the most popular fabric in suburban England. Then, with equal swiftness, the entire craze evaporated. Its adherents quietly retired their tartan, collectively pretending the phenomenon had never occurred. Another pervasive, yet entirely illegal, fascination gripped the country: CB radio. While in America, CB radio served primarily truckers, by the late 1970s in Britain, it had become a widespread pursuit for the general public. This was despite the very real risk of fines or even imprisonment for its yet the equipment was An estimated 300,000 individuals nationwide conversed freely on imported American sets, exchanging "good buddy" greetings and issuing warnings about Smokey Bear, their code for the police. Public rallies were held, demanding the government legalize the practice. The activity, though explicitly against the law, was treated as perfectly normal. Legalization for CB radio didn't arrive until November 1981. Even then, the government deliberately chose a different frequency, effectively rendering existing equipment useless. Meanwhile, in the realm of fashion, a different kind of phenomenon was taking hold. In 1974, Roger Moore, as James Bond in The Man with the Golden Gun, donned a safari suit. Within months, ordinary men across Britain adopted the look, as if preparing for a Saharan expedition. This distinctive garment, beige, short-sleeved, and featuring 4 pockets that remained perpetually empty, became a common sight. Men wore them to Sunday afternoon pub visits, entirely without irony. The trend lasted approximately 2 years before vanishing, leaving behind only photographic evidence. These images, in retrospect, are truly remarkable. The safari suit vanished as quickly as it appeared, but the year 1975 brought with it another peculiar craze. An American advertising executive named Gary Dahl conceived of the pet rock. He gathered ordinary stones from a beach, placed each into a small cardboard box, complete with air holes, and included a care manual detailing how to train your rock to sit, stay, and roll over. Remarkably, Britain embraced this concept. For roughly 6 months, people genuinely purchased these rocks as gifts, displaying them on mantelpieces and proudly presenting them to visitors. It was, arguably, the most expensive item one could find for free in any garden. Yet millions willingly paid for it. Long before streaming services or mixtapes, the solution for collecting multiple hits in one place was the K-Tel record. Albums such as 20 Dynamic Hits, released in 1972, promised exactly that: 20 chart-topping songs compressed onto a single vinyl disc. The inherent compromise, however, was in the compression. Squeezing 20 tracks onto one record required such tightly packed grooves that the audio often sounded thin and rough. A heavy footfall across the room could send the needle careening from one song into the middle of another. yet millions purchased them. 20 songs on a single record, even with imperfect sound, represented an undeniable bargain. You acquired 20 hits, and that was the prevailing sentiment. From the auditory experience of K-tel records, we turn to the culinary landscape of the 1970s. Hosting a formal sit-down meal in 1970s Britain offered no choice for the first course. It was invariably the prawn cocktail. This consisted of defrosted prawns, bathed in Marie Rose sauce, a simple blend of mayonnaise and tomato ketchup, served atop shredded iceberg lettuce in a wine glass, often finished with a sprinkle of paprika. This garnish, it was genuinely believed, conferred an air of elegance. The main course would then be steak and chips, followed by Black Forest gâteau for dessert. This triumvirate, prawn cocktail, steak, and gâteau, formed the immutable menu, followed across the country as if by decree. While the prawn cocktail reigned supreme on the dinner table, other peculiar trends permeated daily life. Consider the furry steering wheel cover. In an era predating heated steering wheels, this was considered the ultimate solution. Picture a ring of long pile synthetic fur, often leopard print, sometimes bright red, stretched over the steering wheel of a Hillman Avenger or Ford Cortina. In practice, it would often slip during sharp turns, and within months, the once plush fur flattened into a texture more akin to roadkill than a statement of style. Yet, its ubiquity was unquestioned. Virtually every car owner possessed one. From the car interior, we move inside the home, where another form of self-sufficiency was taking root. Deep within many 1970s British homes, perhaps in an airing cupboard, garage, or tucked behind the stairs, sat a large plastic bucket, its lid firmly in place. Inside, something was fermenting. This was the domain of home brewing, a pursuit embraced by an estimated 2 million people across Britain by 1978. A kit from Boots, comprising would ferment for 2 weeks in the water, much as a puddle is technically water, flat, cloudy, and prone to violently dislodging bottle caps at 3 a.m. if bottled prematurely. With The Good Life on television, inspiring self-sufficiency, few paused to question if independence was truly meant to taste this way. While homebrewers perfected their dubious concoctions, the very fabric of British homes was undergoing a different kind of transformation. Then there was flock wallpaper. Entering a 1970s living room often meant encountering walls adorned with a raised, velvet-like texture, typically in deep red, gold, or dark green. To the touch, it resembled a damp carpet. It absorbed light, trapped years of cigarette smoke and cooking odors, and inevitably developed a faint stickiness. At least one wall in almost every British living room bore this distinctive and often malodorous covering. From the sensory assault of flock wallpaper, we turn to the more wholesome, if equally impactful, world of children's safety. The Tufty Club, an initiative by the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents, boasted around 25,000 branches across Britain, and at its peak in the early 1970s, enrolled roughly 2 million child members. Through short televised films, Tufty Fluffytail imparted crucial road safety lessons. His mischievous friend, Willie Weasel, served as a cautionary tale. Willie's dash into the road after a ball, though never explicitly shown, left an indelible understanding of the consequences. These stop-motion puppet films, aimed at children under 5 and narrated by Bernard Cribbins in his gentlest voice, nonetheless instilled a profound, lasting fear in an entire generation, ensuring they stood rigidly still at the curb. Joining earned a badge, proudly worn, and cultivated a habit of looking both ways that persisted far beyond necessity for the rest of the decade. While children learned road safety from Tufty, their mothers were often engaged in a different kind of social ritual. And then there were Tupperware parties, peculiar social gatherings your mother might be invited to, hosted by a neighbor on a Thursday evening. Tupperware parties involved women gathering in a living room, where a representative, armed with a suitcase of plastic containers, conducted a live demonstration. The highlight, the moment everyone anticipated, was the burp and seal. Pressing the lid produced a distinct release of air, confirming the container's airtight seal. Women observed this as if it were magic, subsequently purchasing stacking boxes in sizes they would rarely utilize. This was, in essence, a sales pitch ingeniously disguised as a social event. It unfolded in homes across Britain throughout the entire decade, proving effective without fail. From the adult world of home sales, we moved to the schoolyard, where a different kind of commerce thrived. Panini football stickers established their own intricate economy within every British school. For a few pence, a packet was purchased, torn open at break time, inevitably revealing several duplicates. Got, need, became the ubiquitous chant across playgrounds nationwide. These foil, shiny stickers, featuring crests and captains, functioned as legitimate currency. A single rare shiny sticker could command a trade for 5 ordinary ones. Children, often struggling with basic arithmetic in the classroom, effortlessly calculated 5-for-1 exchanges in mere seconds. Most albums, however, remained incomplete. The final 20 spaces stubbornly stayed empty, regardless of how many packets were acquired. Nearly every household possessed a biscuit tin overflowing with duplicates, intended for future swaps that rarely materialized. While children were consumed by sticker exchanges, a more haunting presence silently watched over many British homes. Throughout much of the 1970s, a particular painting adorned homes across Britain, its presence largely unremarkable. This mass-produced print, depicting a big-eyed, tearful young boy, was sold affordably in Woolworths and various department stores. Over 50,000 copies found their way into British households. It commonly hung above mantelpieces and beside fireplaces in working-class homes nationwide, its gaze fixed upon families as they took their evening meal. Then, in September 19th, page expose, a pan fire, everything consumed by the flames. Yet, amid the destruction, the crying boy painting remained on the wall, completely untouched. Firefighters reported similar inexplicable occurrences in the past. Within days, thousands of readers contacted the paper. Terrified, over 2,500 individuals mailed their copies to the Sun, which subsequently incinerated them all on Halloween. The prints were later found to possess a fire-resistant varnish, but by then, the rational explanation was irrelevant. That painting was, in the public consciousness, irrevocably cursed. Returning to our initial observation of peculiar personal adornments, let's delve deeper into the phenomenon of the mood ring. It arrived in Britain in 1975. This inexpensive novelty featured a liquid crystal stone set in a metal band, designed to change color based on body temperature. Blue signified calm, black indicated tension, and green suggested a normal state. The inherent flaw, however, lay in its design for American conditions. Consequently, British hands during winter months predominantly displayed black, which, according to the accompanying chart, unequivocally indicated stress and anxiety. Despite the clear indications of stress, this didn't deter teenagers nationwide from scrutinizing their fingers, attempting to discern if they were truly in love or merely feeling the chill. The ring's metal would turn skin green within a week, its crystal clouding within a month. Yet, for a solid couple of years, half the teenagers in Britain placed more faith in a piece of jewelry than in their own emotions. Transitioning from personal feelings to personal scent, in 1973, boxing legend Henry Cooper famously exhorted the nation on television to splash it all over. Brute 33, in its distinctive dark green bottle, adorned with a silver medallion, swiftly became a ubiquitous item in British bathroom cabinets. Every father, every uncle, every teacher who stood a little too close possessed one. Its potent aroma was unmistakable. You could detect a man who had applied Brute a full 5 minutes before he even entered a room. This bold scent often accompanied a gold chain and a shirt unbuttoned just one too many. Endorsed by figures like Kevin Keegan and Barry Sheen alongside Cooper, Brute 33 defined British male grooming for the entire decade. From the strong sense of male grooming, we moved to the sweet aromas of 1970s dining. Dining out in the 1970s offered a unique dessert experience. Puddings weren't listed on a menu, but arrived on a 3-tiered, slightly wobbling wooden trolley, expertly maneuvered to your table by a waitress armed with a serving spoon. Trifle occupied the bottom shelf, cheesecake the middle, and crowning the display, like a culinary jewel, sat the Black Forest Gâteau, a decadent combination of chocolate sponge, whipped cream, tinned cherries, and chocolate shavings. Diners simply pointed to their selection, and a slice was carved directly at the table. Once restaurants abandoned this ritual, the act of dining out, for many, lost an irreplaceable charm. While the Black Forest Gâteau offered sweet indulgence, the decade also embraced a more perplexing culinary trend. The 1970s harbored a peculiar fascination with suspending unlikely ingredients in jelly. Not sweet, but savory jelly. Cold meats, hard-boiled eggs, prawns, and various vegetables were meticulously set in a wobbly mold, then inverted onto a plate and presented to guests as if entirely commonplace. Cookery books of the era were filled with such creations, featuring ring molds encasing cold ham within a clear, quivering mass, photographed from above with an almost scientific precision. People crafted these for special occasions, and everyone dutifully consumed every last quivering mouthful. However, not every culinary offering demanded such elaborate preparation. Angel Delight exemplified effortless dessert. This packet of flavored powder, requiring only cold milk and a minute of whisking, transformed into a light, fluffy confection that the packaging proudly declared a dessert. Butterscotch, without question, was the most coveted flavor. The strawberry variant, a shade of pink found nowhere in nature, epitomized this artificiality. Its allure lay in its 60-second preparation time, requiring no cooking, a convenience that, in 1970s Britain, felt almost like a culinary cheat. Families served it at dinner parties, children requested it by name, its taste devoid of anything real. This embrace of the artificial was, in many ways, the very essence of the era, a point that continues to spark discussion today. Meanwhile, in the realm of horticulture, the tall, imposing bush of pampas grass became a symbol of suburban aspiration. In the 1970s, planting it in one's front garden was a statement of perceived affluence, a desire for a home to appear a cut above. Millions of proud homeowners cultivated these plants, seeking only aesthetic enhancement for their properties. However, years later, a whispered rumor began to circulate. Pampas grass in the front garden carried a more clandestine meaning, signifying an openness to certain arrangements with neighbors. An entire generation of innocent pensioners eventually discovered what the rest of the street had, for years, apparently understood. Some were enlightened by their children. Others remain entirely unaware, their pampas grass still standing innocently in gardens across Britain, oblivious to the unspoken subtext. These peculiar trends, from the overtly artificial to the subtly symbolic, collectively define a decade of remarkable contrasts. The 1970s, a period where the mundane often masked the truly extraordinary, continues to offer a rich tapestry of cultural quirks and enduring mysteries.